The NFL has come out and said the settlements do not have any impact whatsoever on the process that the league has collectively bargained to figure out what the punishment will be. Here is Rich Eisen. Remember, he is basically the face of the NFL network, owned by the NFL. This is from the Rich Eisen podcast, Rich Eisen show on the Peacock Network. Here's what he believes the settlement means.
I don't think just the mere settling is going to have him avoid any subject matter from the league to suspend him. As you know, the league has said that they believe it's going to be significant, and I believe it should be, based on everything that you see here. And I should mention again, no criminal charges have been filed in the case. But these are civil cases that are still outstanding. And so is a ruling from the league on how few games Deshaun Watson will play this year.
And with that, let's welcome in Mac Robinson from 92.3 The Fan. Mac, a lot to unpack there. But the main thing is the criminal investigation closed. That likely isn't going to reopen. Deshaun Watson trying to get the civil litigation settled so he can move on. Then it comes to the NFL league-imposed problems as far as suspension, penalty, fine, whatever it is. So it's a step in the process of getting some resolution.
Yeah, and it marks the biggest landmark that we've seen to getting towards that resolution. And, you know, you look back, and I know that we've heard from Tony Busby, Rusty Hardin, the attorney for Deshaun Watson as well. But, you know, you look at how this has kind of unfolded, and you know, Rusty Hardin had mentioned the fact that, you know, going back to even in November before the trade deadline, you know, they had about 20 of these possibly settled. The only hurdle was coming down to the NDA and whether or not they would have the plaintiffs go ahead, or the accuser, excuse me, go ahead and, you know, agree to, you know, no NDA at that point. Now you see them, you know, agreeing to this NDA. I'm curious as to how many of those had previously talked settlement back in November as well. But again, now you're getting to that point now where Deshaun Watson, I think that you're getting towards that resolution from the NFL. Do I think that, you know, it'll impact the NFL's investigation? No, I don't. But at the same time, I do think that this is essentially, you know, getting towards, like you had mentioned with the NFL, where, you know, the NFL is kind of looking at this and saying, all right, let's try to see how much are you able to get taken care of in this, so that we don't have to worry about, you know, something else coming forward or something along those lines. And so, you know, when it comes to the Deshaun Watson, you know, saga at this point, you know, it really has a multitude of different levels to it. And so today, I think, is one of the biggest shifts that we've seen, and especially, you know, with the 4 plaintiffs left. At this point, I'm curious to see where that goes and how much the NFL will go ahead and punish Deshaun Watson, given the fact that, like Jonathan Jones had mentioned, you know, something significant could be, you know, as much as half a season, maybe 10 games, or, you know, it could be that full season. So, you know, it's interesting to see where this possibly goes. And it does signal that I do think that we are heading towards the end and the conclusion of this when it comes to the punishment from the NFL.
And the important thing, you know, Josina Anderson, we mentioned earlier, said that the Players Association is kind of shifting its focus to help Watson defend himself against what the league imposes as a suspension. He has Jeffrey Kessler. That is a guy that the league, for lack of a better term, just doesn't like. He always fights the appeals for the NFL players. And is pretty good at it. So the Players Association is helping Watson defend himself vigorously, which you would expect them to do.
Yeah, and honestly, it's just like any other union. That's what you'd be hoping for. You know, again, that is their job at this point. I know that I've had some people that have asked me, you know, well, why does the union agree to all? No, the union is doing their job out of anything. You know, when you come into the league, you join the players union at that point, or the Players Association. And so at that point, they have to stand by the people that are in their union. So, you know, getting a chance to, you know, see how this process plays out. Like you said, Kessler is somebody that the NFL just doesn't like to deal with, just because of, you know, his history, at least when it comes to vigorously defending the players in this. So, you know, I do think that when it comes down to this, whatever punishment comes from Sue Robinson, who is running the independent investigation, it's important to remember that, as long as it's not 0 games, Roger Goodell can take her punishment and her recommendation for punishment and can add to that at that point. But with Kessler in Watson's corner at that point, now you're kind of seeing a shift where I think that you can see a vigorous fight from the players union with in Watson's behalf.
The one thing, and before we go to break, the one thing I think today does, it makes it much less likely that Commissioner Roger Goodell puts him on the commissioner's exempt list. I think if there was 24, 25, 26, multiple, the immense number of suits, it's more likely he ends up on the commissioner's exempt list. That's probably the reason that they were willing to settle at this point in time.